Hello, this is Coca, music producer and sound engineer. So in this video we're gonna talk about how to master music or how to mix and master music using Logic Pro X or any other DAW. The same steps works for every DAW if you have the right plugins. By the way, if I reach 200 followers, I will make sure to post the original project session for free download on my YouTube channel. So if you want to have this exact remix projects on your computer, all you have to do is like this video and subscribe. And when I reach 200 subscribers, I promise I will leave the link to download this project for free in my description, in my video description. So make sure to subscribe and smash the like button. So this is the remix I made for Blinding Lights by The Weeknd, which is a very good song. I love the song a lot. So the two versions that you heard at the beginning of this video, the one is mastered and one is unmastered. So as you can hear, you could have noticed, the mastered version has more high frequencies, has more edges, and is more stronger and has some stereo width. And this is what mastering is about. It's giving your music more power and giving your music more gain, more stereo width and more edges, but without clipping and going over the 0 dB limit. So this is the unmastered version. This project is unmastered because I always do my mastering on other projects, on empty projects, only the full wave of the sound of the track. So let's see what I have here on the pre-mastering stereo out. And what I mean with the pre-mastering is the last step before going to the mastering phase. Is where you balance your volume, is where you balance your EQ, your reverb, your filters, and you see that nothing is clipping, and this is where you give your demo or your unmastered version some headroom, minus 6 dB, minus 12, minus 10. That depends on your preferences or your engineer requests, and to give some headroom for the master so you can boost the volume of the song without actually clipping the sound, without actually having some saturation or distortion. And by what I mean by clipping is going above 0 dB. And this pre-mastered version, all I did is have some EQ to roll off the high frequencies, because this remix is a lo-fi version and I don't like having high frequencies on my lo-fi songs, and some gain just to boost down, so to decrease some dBs on the missed stereo output, so I can have some room where to boost my music in the mastering phase without clipping and without going above 0 dB. And also the studio rack from Waves, it's the one responsible for this crackling you're hearing now, on these noises you're hearing now, and the pitches and the pitch vibration. So now let's go to the mastering projects. Let me open it up for you. Hey, back. Sorry, I paused the video and then I got back. So this is the mastering projects, and these are all the effects I mainly use on all my mastering music or on my mastering sessions. If they are lo-fi, of course, if there is some rap or hip-hop music or pop music, I use some different mastering process that depends on the style and on the singer voice, and also depends always on the environment where I am. Being in my home studio is not the same as being in my friend's house, or mastering in my I don't know, in my school, with my headphones, or it's not the same as being in my school mastering with my headphones, or being outside in a restaurant or a cafe mastering my headphones. So the environment plays a big role, and with the mastering you don't want to have a big echo or a wide echo surrounding your head or your ears or your headphones. So always make sure you are in a quiet place, and if it's preferably being a little bit treated. So let's hear a short version without any mastering process or without any processing. Let me remove the plugins that are not activated, so I won't activate them in mistake. This is what it sounds like. This remix is, by the way, available on my YouTube channel. All you have to do is type The Weeknd Blinding Lights lo-fi version, Coca, if it doesn't show up on your results. So the first thing is Isotope Ozone 9, which is my go-to for mastering. The first thing I have is in EQ to roll off the low frequencies with a brick wall limiter. Brick wall EQ limiter is like a limiter, but it's for frequencies and not for volumes or for dBs. It's for frequencies. As you can see, there is a brick wall, a 90 degrees shape EQ, which means that anything below this vertical line won't be heard, won't be part of your music. I always like to keep it around 30 hertz. And there is a high brick wall also, which is I also like to keep it on 20,000 hertz or 20k hertz. And that's it. This is only a brick wall limiter or a brick wall EQ. And I have here as an imager to make the sound more wider in my stereo field or stereo image. I split sound into four bands: the low mid, the high mid, and then the treble, all the high frequencies, the very high frequencies. This here is without any stereo imaging. Oh, sorry, I enabled the vintage tape. That's the imaging. And that's with it. It's just a subtle change in the stereo field. You don't want to go hard or to go extreme with your stereo. Something like this or not. That's not good. That's not good for your mix. And as a tip, always make sure to have all your frequencies below 150, 100 hertz or 160 hertz in mono. Always make your very sub frequencies a mono, because you don't want you to have your sub in stereo, so going right and left and everywhere. I always make it mono so it's strict and have edge. And then I added a saturation or an exciter or using isotope exciter. This is without any exciter. And that's with it. If you focus, you can hear that there is a more boost on the high frequencies, and there's more excitement, saturation on the high frequencies, but not that much, so you don't have your sibilants like you or your hi-hats go in and making your listeners deaf, if you know what I mean. And then vintage tape. That's without any tape. And that's with it. It's just a subtle change you made to add more harmonics to your high frequencies. And that's it for the isotope. And then I used multiband compressor. That's by FabFilter. That's without any multi-compression. And that's with it. So the multiband compression is to compress every single band differently, so you don't have a whole compressed sound. You should compress every range of frequencies differently. The low frequencies are different from the mid frequencies, and the mid frequencies are different from the high frequencies, and go on and go on and go on and go on. So always make sure to use multiband compressor, so that first it will give more power to the frequencies that are compressed. So for example, if you're compressing the low frequencies, you're gonna have more power on your sub frequencies, and if you're compressing the high or the mid frequencies, you're gonna have more power and more strict frequencies. So you don't have frequencies everywhere, like beyond 0 dB or beyond every other frequency in the sound or the song or something like that. So make sure you're using multiband. And then Ozone 9 maximizer. This is just like a limiter, but you enable true peak. I didn't play with the ceiling, so the ceiling is like the limiting, where so no frequency or no sound or no clipping will gonna beyond the ceiling that you're gonna select. So for example, if I choose -1.1, no sound or no frequency or no volume is going to go upper than -1.1 dB, but I don't want to have that for now because I still have some processing to do, some limiting, and that's where to use the -1.1 dB. I always suggest to have your output level on your mastering is be -1.1, not -1 or minus, I don't know, 0.9 or something like this. Just always always make -1.1 and then play with the gain knob. And always to have true peak limiting enabled. True peak makes your limiter or micro compressor, whatever you're using, detects the pure peaks, not just peaks everywhere or something like this. It makes your limiter detecting your peaks with a mathematical formula. And then some EQ. This technique, I use a lot this technique to detect the harsh frequencies and remove them. And that's how I do it. You should always solo the cue, the shape of your EQ. You just go hunting until you find a bad frequency, something like around here. Now that's a bad frequency. Let's turn it down. And you go on and you go on and you go on until you clean your sound, until you clean your EQ, your waveform of your song. And this is a correlation meter. A correlation meter, I'm sorry, not limiter, is a meter. And that meter has only 3 numbers, -1, 0, and +1. If it plays on -1, that means your sound is collapsing on the mono or having what you call a phase cancellation. Maybe you have a lot of stereo width, or maybe you have a lot of reverb, or maybe you have some sounds that are clashing with each other to the point that they are canceling each other out. And that's why you always make sure that your song or your music or your podcast or whatever you're making, always to make it -1. Plays in the positive area, not on the negative area. So what we have learned from this video is always using a mastering chain. And what I mean by mastering chain is a list or a series of effects and dynamic controllers to use when mastering your song. And before even going into mastering, make sure that your sound or your music is well mixed, is well arranged, your vocal is not clipping, your vocal is not bad tuning, you don't have a lot of reverb, or you don't have reverb that clashes everywhere on your sound. And always, and I mean always, have a headroom on your sound before mastering. Always make sure to have -6 dB headroom. What I mean by -6 dB of headroom is have no millisecond of your sound goes beyond or above -6. It goes beyond -6 dB. Always make it play lower in -7, -8, -11, 12, and go on and go on. Never make it go upper than -6 dB. And then export your music in stems. What I mean by stems is you can render the kicks, the kick solely, and then the snare solely, the piano, the guitars, the bass, the synths, the vocal solely, and then add them all to one project session, mastering project session, sorry. Or you can export everything in wave and make sure is 16 bits. If you use a 24 bits, you have to use what we call dithering. And that's dithering is to use 24 bits. Maybe the computer or the DAW's mastering engineer doesn't accept 24-bit music, 24-bit samples, so you have to do dithering. And dithering is adding noise. That's a whole new topic. So if you want me to talk about dithering, make sure to like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below so I can know that you guys are interested in different. So the mastering chain should have EQ, saturation, some stereo imaging, multiband compressor, and a limiter. So an EQ, a stereo imaging, an exciter or saturation, another saturation. You can add another EQ and for cleaning your sound, or for removing frequencies, or for boosting frequencies. That depends on your preferences. And always have a multiband compressor. You can use the isotope multiband compressor if you're a isotope user, and always use EQ to clean the bad frequencies. As I showed you before, always boost the EQ point and make the Q shorter, and silence your Q points, and then just go around hunting and finding bad frequencies. And when you do, just put the gain down or decrease the gain, so you're eliminating the bad frequencies from your music. And always make sure you have metering as the last component of your effects chain, like a correlation meter and a level meter and a loudness meter. These plugins come stock with Logic Pro X. If you're not a Logic Pro X, you can use Waves. Like there is a very good metering plugin in Waves, the VU Meter, or you can use which is one of my favorite plugins, which is the Isotope Insight 2, which gives you the entire information and the entire data about your music. You can choose the presets like audio analysis, 3D spectrum analysis. So this is a very good plugin for metering and having and seeing numbers, what's actually going on with their music. By the way, if I reach 200 followers, I will make sure to post the original project session for free download on my YouTube channel. So if you want to have this exact remix projects on your computer, all you have to do is like this video and subscribe. And when I reach 200 subscribers, I promise I will leave the link to download this project for free in my description, in my video description. So make sure to subscribe and smash the like button. And that's it for today's video. Thank you for watching. Peace.